Hey everyone, this is Erin Ashley Simon.
This is Brandon Killabh, y'all.
And welcome to another episode of Grassroots Podcast. Today is a special day.
Special day.
Not only because it's a friend of Brandon's and a friend of Grassroots,
and
but
a friend of the show.
Yes, that is always a plus. But also, she's about sex positivity, especially when it comes to women doing big things. I also saw that she's working on getting her CPA.
Yes, I am. Yes, girl.
All around dope person.
Look at y'all bonding. That's how you know we're buddy. Yes, girl. I know
she
that's
did her
right.
research.
Yeah.
I feel so happy right now.
That's crazy. I ain't look up shit. That's wild.
Terrible.
But one of the things that we like to do for the show is we always allow our guests to kind of introduce themselves and just do a deep dive into who they are. So, who are you? Let everyone know.
Which person are we interviewing here? I'm actually two people in one.
Yeah.
I'm a character. I'm a lot in a lot of different ways. I currently am half of the WHOREible Decisions podcast, which is a sex positivity, women empowerment, anti-slut shaming podcast, where we kind of delve into things that I would say are taboo, especially in the Black culture and the Black community. We talk about topics that aren't normally discussed in terms of sex. And so we kind of just make it a conversation. We talk about everything that you could possibly think of. And we have a lot of guests that come on the show as well to talk about that. And then on the other end of things, I just graduated college with 2 bachelor's degrees with a with a BS in accounting and a BBA in marketing. And I'm going to get my CPA, which for those that don't know is a certified public accountant.
That's fine.
So I'm an accountant by day, podcaster by night.
Damn, so you fudging the numbers pretty much.
Nah, I ain't fudging no numbers. Don't put that into the universe.
She knows how to budget. That's what she
there
knows.
we go. I'm working on that too. Shopping is a hell of a thing, you know?
That's one
and
thing
traveling.
I was about to say that's one thing. We talked about this a lot, what it takes to run a podcast and all of the intricacies of it.
Oh boy.
And the numbers. You gotta know numbers.
Yes.
A lot of people don't take that into consideration.
But it's not even numbers. I mean, there's numbers in all aspects. Of course, when you go into it, especially like you have a whole production here, but if you go into it wanting to make it a business or possibly see a profitability in the future, you have to invest.
Yeah.
So you have your expenses that you put out, but then there's also numbers as far as analytics. You have to look at your numbers, where you're getting your listenership from, which guests, bring you more. You just really have to constantly look at it on a weekly basis. See what platforms you're getting most interest from. Like, it's really, really a lot. And then
She knows my pain with analytics.
It's a lot. Oh, the analytics.
Oh my gosh.
Looking at that and how to make money, because of course, everyone kind of no one wants to do everything for free. Or anything for free. And then, of course, the production side of things, like the levels. Clearly, they had to turn my mic down.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
but the time it takes to edit, to be consistent as far as your posting, and there's just so many different aspects to it. You guys have videos, so I could just only imagine. It's just a lot that people don't realize. People think they're just going to come in and talk on a mic, and it's like, oh no, it's not that easy.
The funny thing is, people think that when we started out, a lot of people was like, oh, anyone could do that shit. I'm like, try it. Try it. I dare you.
Job.
I dare you.
Especially because ours is mobile. They think that, it's easy to get mobile. I'm like, listen, the expensive equipment you have to buy, how he has to check the levels and look at it as we're recording, then the editing after.
Yeah, like people don't factor in what it takes to be an independent podcast. And that's why I love you and what you guys do, because you're similar to us. We started from just nothing and just are making it.
Not only that, you guys are, there are episodes with just the two of you, but you're also very dependent on guests.
Yeah.
And people don't understand communicating and having people come and CP time. I was 10 minutes late, but a lot of people like doing the scheduling, getting people on time, making it's just a lot of work. And I don't think that people appreciate for the free content that they get.
That's the other
people
thing.
are like, you're late today. Hey, hold on, bro. Chill out. This is free. Calm down. Like,
well, that's the one
it's a lot.
thing. We've done well. I think it was like 1 week where we missed one episode and the DMs went crazy. Like, fam, where's the episode? What's happening? Are you guys not doing it anymore?
So
did you guys break up? Did you fam? Like,
they're addicts. I'm like, damn, my gosh.
You realize niggas have lives, right? Like we're trying to get it together. I will
say, as someone who works at a desk during the day, I'm that same way with the Joe Budden podcast, with the Read, with other podcasts that I listen to. I'm like, this is now my routine.
Yeah.
I now listen to these people on a weekly basis.
I get it.
These are now my friends in my ear. I need to know what's going on.
Well, that's the thing. As we both delve into podcasting, I started to have that regimen as well. You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain podcasts on certain days I listen to.
Yes.
And then there's certain times when they don't drop or do what their normal is, and I'm on the timeline like everybody else, like, yo, hey fam, where your shit at? Where your shit at? So I get it, but because I'm defensive and this is our baby, shut up and just wait for the content. All right?
I mean, yeah, and you're light skinned with tattoos, so that's just
okay. I mean, all right. Everyone just settle down. There's a lot of laughing going on.
Oh man, this is gonna be an exciting episode.
Settle the fuck down. But let's talk about your platform. How did that come about? What made you do it, especially on such a topic that we, especially me and Erin, we don't feel is discussed enough as far as just women empowerment and things of that nature.
So this was actually my second podcast. Yeah. I had a podcast called Point Taken, and it featured NFL vet Lamar Woodley, and then Thousand, who's a radio personality in Pittsburgh, but we were all in different locations. Okay. So getting our schedules on point and recording through, like, there was like a Skype thing that we did it through, and getting the audio to mesh. We all had different mics. It was just impossible. Yeah. So I stopped that, and Weezy, who's my co-host now, she came to me with the idea after she was featured on a podcast and was like, yo, I think we could do a podcast. She always says the story, who's a bigger hoe than me? And, you know, she thought of me somehow.
Damn.
Which I'm not. Yeah, that's just a joke. But, and we kind of already just knew from there, we wanted to discuss, me and her are very open with our sexuality, with talking about things. We've been friends since we were 14, 15, and then had a 5-year break, rekindled our friendship, and got right into the podcast. Nice. We kind of, and we had it, I like organized chaos. So we literally sat at a table in the Lower East Side, and we drew up our outline. We knew that we didn't want to just get on the mic and start talking. Yeah. So we do like a kink of the week. We do our HOREible decision, horror spelled WHORE, just for irony. And we just started bringing up things. It also just so happened the first episode, a week before we recorded, I had a condom stuck in my pussy. So she was like, oh, I've had a condom stuck in my pussy too. So that was her first episode.
Hold on.
But rewind.
Hold on. Yo. You're not about to just so cavalierly say, oh, you had a condom stuck in my pussy. Wait, nigga, what?
So there's a lot of things that we as women discuss in group chats and maybe that just aren't known.
Yo, that group chat gotta be lit. I ain't gonna lie.
So I had sex with someone and the condom came off in the middle of sex, and he couldn't pull it out. Like, we were searching for it and it was nowhere. It wasn't on the bed, nowhere. I thought it would just come out, and it didn't. So I went to a gyno to have her take it out.
How was that conversation?
I mean, she said it before me, so we both went just to get tested, just because, that's you got insurance, you could do things like that. And so we just went, and she was like, yeah, we're really here because my friend needs something taken out of her pussy. Oh. And so that was taken out. Apparently there's little crevices and stuff that you just really don't know of, and it was like tucked in the back. So you
have secret compartments in your
mine shaft. It's like a mine shaft there.
No, so it just so happened that happened to be our very first episode.
Yo, how you got a glove box in your pussy?
You do, though. There's compartments, okay? And then just from there, we literally just picked topics. So we talked about golden showers. We've talked about pegging. We've talked about different sexuality. And we just knew that we wanted to give voice to everyone. So we've had someone on our podcast who has herpes. We've had someone on our podcast who has HIV. We had a trans man on our show. And just all of these things that we grow up as minorities that aren't discussed in our households, that we're just told don't have sex or you're going to die and get pregnant in school. There's really no sex education either from high school on to college. If you're not studying that, you're not going to learn anything about it. So we open up the conversation, ask questions. I'm not politically correct on a lot of things, so I get yelled at. But yeah, we just opened the conversation. We just knew that that's kind of what we wanted our focus to be.
Yeah. So what was the initial response that you got from listeners and audiences? Because I'm sure this was something that they were like, holy shit. I know for the first time I saw your guys' cover, I was like, okay, what am I getting into right now? There's too many bananas here. What am I getting into? So what was the initial response that you guys got?
We got a great, people thought we were fucking hilarious. So we bring up sex in a funny way. Y'all thought a missing condom was quite fucking hilarious. Sex is funny to us. And we discuss it in a funny way. So the first response was from a lot of women. Oh my God, there's other girls like me. Yeah. I didn't know that other girls, and it was actually kind of the reaction from men too. yo, this is how girls talk? I ain't know y'all talk like this. Like, it's crazy. So we got that response. As far as dating and perception, that was hard. Because now if you go on my Instagram, whore is on every other line. And I do have bananas in my mouth. And we're talking about sex. And so even people listening were asking us to join them in the bedroom with their partners. And we've been offered money for our panties. And can I pay you to do this? And so people were thinking we were actual sex workers at one point, because we're just openly talking about sex. That's and crazy. We're like, our thing is we're both corporate women. Yeah. She works in tech. I work in finance. And we're like, regular women like sex too. Hoes is smart. We read books. Like, we can suck dick and read. Like, you know. And so
that's a t-shirt right there.
Word, I mean, that's a t-shirt. It's mad bumper stickers happening
I'm just saying. we can do both. And so now, though, after our feature on Brilliant Idiots alongside Charlamagne and Andrew Schultz, and now that we just had a Vice article written about us. Yeah. The numbers right now are crazy. We're getting anywhere from 30 to 50,000 weekly on our numbers, which is high for a podcast. Like, I'm rushing it. Like, just in January, we were reaching 10 to 12. So literally after Brilliant Idiots and just the feature on Vice and constant rotation of networking, now people are like, oh, I see you. You're not just a hoe. Like, we do live shows. We've had 2 sold out in New York. We did one in Atlanta with a 300 people crowd. So now that they see you moving, they're like, oh, it's not just a podcast where you talking about hoe shit. Like, this is real shit. And more so than anything, I feel like we're touching people. The emails in our inbox is why I keep doing this. Like, we've helped couples. We've helped them talk about things that they didn't know their partners were open to. We have a lot of virgins listening to us, and I don't know why. I know we're just probably ruining souls and minds with what we talk about. But we have a lot of virgins that are like, oh, wow, I'm open to this. Even people opening up about their sexuality. So I feel like we definitely are doing what we were set out to do, which is make a difference in the community with sex.
If you guys are getting bigger and bigger, then how are you guys able to, like, keep the separate life from the podcast and like the tech and accountant? Because those are very conservative.
Very conservative.
Industries.
Very, 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 very conservative. So I just worked at an investment bank for the last year and a half, and that was fine. I'm now going more into accounting now, but different names. So we don't go by our government names. We also don't mention much about our work. We say she's in tech, I'm in finance, and that's where we leave it. Okay. Especially being in New York City, there's millions of companies that you could possibly work for in each perspective field. And then I make sure that none of my email addresses to anything tie back to the podcast. I keep everything very separate. I try. That's as far as, I don't know, if I get brought into HR one day, we'll see how that conversation goes. But until then, I'm rocking out with it.
I've definitely been fired from a job from fucking working.
Wait, what?
In my previous life, I worked for Joe. I was a hype man for fucking 12 years.
Oh, okay.
And I got fired from
being a hype man?
A record store.
Oh, I was like, my bad. I didn't know who fired you.
That'd be horrible.
Joe be firing people. So
someone said that to me. It's like, yo, how is it that like you guys you've never been fired? And I said, wait, what? He said, yeah, he keeps a constant. I said, we're friends. Like, I work hard. Like,
okay, that makes sense.
I don't fuck up. So,
right.
But I lost a job years ago. The guy found me on YouTube from some show and was like, hey, man, yeah, so you know Joe? I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. And he goes, yeah. Well, we're cutting hours. So I'm like,
no
word.
way.
I'm like, you just gonna do me like word? And they dead ass cut me from work, and I just stopped showing up. So
wait, I would think that they would like take advantage of that situation. Right?
In my brain, I thought that as well, but it didn't pan out that way. They dead ass fired me.
Oh, wow.
Quick. And not like one of the fires. They didn't go about it like the HR friendly way where they walk you through the steps of, giving you a letter, a verbal warning, and then the second, and then it's like, all right, fam, you wild and final written warning. They just cut me out the fucking schedule.
Oh,
every week it was like missing hours, then days, then weeks, then I'm like... So I just walked in one day and like mad petty and just knocked down all records and just left.
Oh man, that's childish.
I was immature.
That very childish.
I don't care what you guys say.
Very childish.
It's a Reggie that fired me. Fuck you.
I hope you're watching.
Right.
But no, so that's interesting, and that was the one thing I think we talked about that. That was the one thing that I got from you. I'm very big on literature and substance-based content, and the one thing that I always said that you guys were smart about, the allure of the topics and then how you deliver them is genius to me. There's so much substance to what you guys do as far as women empowerment, and I always had this question I wanted to ask you. What do you think about Amber Rose Slutwalk?
It's crazy because I would like to bring her on the show one day, but I think that she does a very poor job.
Yeah.
With her Slutwalk, I think she contradicts a lot of the things that she says she stands for and goes against. Yeah. And I also with our podcast, I don't like to think we're pushing people to be sluts and whores, and I think it's ironic. Like, those words are actually just terms given by men in a derogatory sense. So I'm not against what she's doing, but I wouldn't stand with what she's doing. And I think it does differ from what we're doing. Mm-hmm. In a sense, we are more so educating. I think she's more so, I can suck 10 dicks and be fine and you should still... Like, to me, there's just a way to go about it. Like, talk about safe sex and casual sex in a way like that. I think that she doesn't use her platform in the right sense. And even the whole posing nude and, you know, the whole, I don't know. I'm not on board with how she does it. Yeah. And I think that she needs a rebranding of what she does do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What are your thoughts as a woman?
As a woman, I have to say there's levels to this shit. There's levels even to people being promiscuous. And like, we can't just say that everyone who's out there like having sex is I hate to say, there are some people who are hoes. Like, we just gotta keep it real. But
real quick, can I pause you on that? Because this is it's something that I always ask people.
Yes.
And it's something that you just said, but I want to ask both of you, what is your definition of a hoe?
Someone who,
because what's the difference between being promiscuous and being a hoe? Like, where do you draw that line?
So my thing is like, for people who are sleeping around, but then like aren't owning up to the fact that they're sleeping around in a sense. Like I know people who sleep around and they're okay with it. Okay. But my thing is like, I kind of have problems with people who sleep around, but then want to act innocent and like nothing, like they don't do anything. Not that I'm saying that it's a hoe, but I'm just saying that like, there are certain people that basically like, how do I explain it? There's like the Rihanna kind who are just like, yeah, I enjoy sex, which I think is more positive. And then there's the people who do the same thing, but then the perception that they kind of put out there is that they're not, and then they're shaming it, or they're like, no, I'm not sleeping around, which then kind of leads to that negative connotation of it. My thing is like, if you want to have sex, right, and be okay with it. And if someone says you're having sex, be like, yeah, I like it. But I think sometimes when I've been around people in school who like, who would do that, like they would have sex with multiple boys, and then they'll be like, no, I'm not this, I'm not that, and then they'll be the ones that are like slut shaming other girls.
It's crazy.
Like that.
I feel like you and my co-host would be on the same line of that. And to me, with you saying they don't want the perception of that, like I could sit here and saying I'm having sex with 5 dudes in rotation. And it's just like, someone in this room may still think I'm a hoe for even owning up to it.
Damn,
so what's the difference of, I mean, I'm just saying, shut up. I mean, I don't have 5 niggas in rotation right now. My line is fairly dry. I mean, yeah, I don't have a starting 5
you
at the moment.
Went to the D League and brought mad niggas up.
Shut the fuck up. No, I don't have that many right now. But I'm saying, to her sense, she's saying that you can own up to it, or the ones that are being quiet about it. And I feel like whether you're sleeping around or whether you're not
really quiet about it, but like they just... Because being quiet could be being private. That's
right.
You know
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, right. That's how I look at it.
For me, I think it's when you're messy. Messy in the sense of...
Oh, a messy hoe.
Yeah, like if you...
Wait, so there's levels to hoe-ness too. Okay, we need a break. We need a graph.
What's a messy hoe?
Like I said, there's levels to the shit.
Messy hoes for me are when like... let's
Crew
say,
loving.
Yeah, like you start... You fuck me,
like the camp.
Then you fuck the homie.
Okay.
Then you fuck the homie's dog. Like you just start wilding. Like you just
the
start.
Homie's dog?
Yeah, you just start wilding. And I know a lot of women like that. That, you know what I'm saying, just are with the shits. And then for them, where it's contradictory when they start judging women that I don't really think are hoes. They just are being promiscuous. You know, so,
okay.
She fucked Reggie, and then next week she fucked. All right, at least they ain't friends, my nigga. You was just in like wilding.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's my thing. For
having some sort of standards or morals.
Yeah, like I'm all for fucking. Like, cool, that's great, but there has to be a line at some point when you just start smashing the homie and then the crew. You looking kind of wild in the streets, my nigga.
But it's crazy because even some of the girls that you're mentioning, some of them are the ones that like say like, oh no, I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Like, that's when it gets messy.
That's when it gets messy. It's like, fam, come on, you gonna look me in my eyes like I know what's happening.
They'd be like, no, I didn't smash your homie.
Yeah, like, come on. The world is too small. I just saw him. I know what happened. Like, it's cool.
And people, I feel like people just like, and I'm sorry, this is your interview, but like,
no, it's fine. This is what we do on our platform.
Yeah.
There's a question thrown out there, and we have guests, and we dissect it. We all have different personalities. We all come from different experiences. We all come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
So the way you perceive something may be completely different than the way you perceive something, and the same as me. Like, me and my co-host don't agree on a ton of things. Even though we both suck dick and be like, hey, I'm the best dick sucker, we still don't agree on a ton of things when it comes to dating, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to even like what we prefer. So we have a huge thing with preference. She dates white men. I've never been with a white man in my life. I like black guys. And so even from the dating spectrums of interracial dating, there's a different thing. Yeah. And I mean, but this is what we do.
Yeah.
So what we're encountering right now, and this is what our podcast is, and this is what it's for. Because these are conversations. Like, you'll call a woman promiscuous, you'll call a female a hoe. But it's like, you're calling her a hoe, and we know it's derogatory, but there's not a set definition of what a hoe is. Yeah. We just know it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And why is it a bad thing? Because men gave us that title. The same with slut. The same with all these things. Yeah. These are things given to us by men.
Hold on, I gotta stand up for the real niggas. Hold on.
I'm just saying, because y'all can do the same exact acts, and yes, there's the line of double standards, of course. But you guys can you guys can behave in the same way. You can be hollering at me and be trying to holler at my friend the very next day, but it's okay for a man to do.
Oh no, I call men hoe too. I say everyone has their hoe moment. I like to say that. It's like that period of time.
Oh, just a moment? We call it a phase?
Well,
it lasts way longer than a moment.
Well, moment, not like one time. I'm saying like a period of time, and usually that happens after you break up with someone. You have that period of time where you just like, your feelings, chop, chop, clink, clink. I want some dick, I want some vagina, and you just kind of have your fun. So everyone's had at least one quote unquote hoe phase.
I agree.
Moment.
Yeah, but just for men, she's making that face like she never did. Listen, for men though, for men, men can be hoes too, but I just think it's different. And the reason why, this is why I'll give a perspective. Most women want to be treated with a certain level of koof, a certain level of prestigiousness, a certain level of divine conquering of sorts.
Yeah.
So when you start to see a woman maneuver a certain way, it's kind of easy to say, "Hey, fam, she a little loose." No. It's an easy correlation. Men, and not to say that it's a good thing for men to do it, because like we were talking to Cuddy about this. Like I was saying, I'm not an easy guy. I look at myself differently. Most men don't, and there's most men that do. I don't think all men are like that.
But it's the perception that men throw out there, because even you using the terminology, she's probably loose. Like even the fact that I feel like a lot of men are just ignorant to the anatomy of a woman. How my pussy won't be any looser fucking 30 niggas than I would with one man fucking him 30 times.
No.
Also the cleanliness.
Loose myth.
Also the cleanliness of a woman.
Not loose. Y'all talking about loose as in the tight. I'm talking about loose meaning you loose you in these streets.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I can get that.
Yeah, I had to hit you with the move. Not saying that your vagina is loose. I'm saying that you're moving loose. It goes back to my original point of women. You fucking the crew. That's loose to me.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Right. That's what I mean. So
could we say that like hoe-ness is like a thermometer? Could we say that?
Yes, that's a great analogy.
Like different, real hot, like real hot,
colder.
Sometimes it's real hot. Sometimes it's real cold. Sometimes it's room temperature.
Or sometimes you're gonna get burned, literally.
Or that makes sense too. Yeah. You know.
I'm just saying. So that's my point. I think. Is there a double standard? Yes.
Of course. We're never going to get away. We're not going to get away from that.
I'll agree with you, but I think when you start to talk about women and you start to talk about queens and things of that, there are certain things that you know how a woman is maneuvering and should be maneuvering when you're trying to be a certain.
I think it's just hard too because in the generation of dating that we are now, patriarchy is kind of, we don't know where that lies, and then gender roles are all over the place right now.
Very taboo.
So even with the conversations on splitting rent and the bills and all of these conversations that are had in terms of a man and a woman, or man or woman, or, you know, there's so many other different gender roles now.
Definitely.
But even just having those conversations in today's age, we all just kind of have to figure it out. And there's really no set guideline of how much of a hoe you are, because there's a whole hierarchy. We talk about that all the time. You could be a paid hoe, a broke hoe, a hoe that's, you know, fucking off because you need to, a hoe that's fucking off because you enjoy it. Like, there's so many spectrums, and to even think that people do sex work because they have no other option. No, I have friends that do it because they enjoy it. So, and it's just honestly just so many ends of the spectrum that aren't touched on.
That's true.
And so
I agree.
So question. So recently Tessa Thompson came out as bisexual. We're starting to see a lot more celebrities coming out as fluid. I mean, for us being the entertainment, for us, it's we kind of already knew all this stuff in the entertainment industry, but now it's becoming more public. So like, how are the conversations going within your podcast or even with guests when it comes to like sexuality, fluidity, and just like everything like that?
That's easy. So me and my co-hosts are both bisexual. Okay. And we openly discuss it. We also have a lot of LGBTQ members on. Okay. We also discuss those things as far as anal sex with two men or playing different. So we talk about pegging. We talk about a lot of things. Look, I know you're. No, it's funny. No, honestly, like, and we get asked these questions. They really think we're doctors and we're not. Like at our live show in Atlanta, a guy stood up in front of an audience of 300 and was like, "Hey, so I've tried DP in my ass and the dicks keep sliding out. How do I stop that from happening?" No. I'm just saying.
Mandii.
No.
Check out.
No. I'm just saying these are the conversations.
I'm aware. Just spare me, please.
So
I'm asking you to spare me.
Those conversations are actually had very openly on our platform. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. But see, and you look, you're turning a little red.
I'm saying, how do I turn up the volume where I don't hear you? I can just hear something else.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. I mean, but these are conversations that we like to be had, and we don't. Also, within the Black community, we have a huge sense of hypermasculinity and homophobia. Yeah. So, with having these conversations and knowing that we have a large male listenership, I like to know that they can listen to these conversations and hear different sides and not be judgmental towards it, or feel like, okay, I'm learning something, even if it's not for them. There's a way that maybe the next time they see someone who's gay, they'll have a better understanding of that person, or they'll look at them as a person who genuinely just enjoys different things sexually. And that's, to me, kind of how we open the conversation in terms of the LGBTQ and even individuals who may have experienced STDs or are dating with children, and all of these conversations are had, but it's more so that his reaction to me saying that happens a lot less.
Well, no, that's always going to happen. But I'm just keeping it a buck.
He's
but
like, it's always going to
but I'm not homophobic though. I said this, and I said this a lot. I believe there is a correlation between being homosexual, gay, whatever your orientation is, and racism. In the sense of this, I feel like if you can dislike someone for their color or for their beliefs, it's the same thing as disliking them for their sexual orientation. I don't agree with it, is my point. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I agree with you.
I don't agree with it. So if you gay, black, white, whatever, I'm cool with it. I don't care. That's not my issue. It's just the hearing part for me is that I will never do. Let me
you don't typically hear about deep penetration in regular conversations. So it's like
DP, hey. But even with what you said, and I think that there's just a huge level of hypocrisy in that sense, because we as Black people do not appreciate or the oppression that was set to us because of racism and the treatment that we receive from everyone who's not Black.
That's how I look at it.
I dislike that within our own community we do that with colorism and with homophobia.
I agree.
And so it's things like that, like that I would love to change. My platform isn't going to do it by itself, but even just bringing these conversations to light. Like we recently had someone email me and was like, hey, thanks for your stories. I know that y'all identify as Black, but I feel like you're able to do the things you do because you're light skinned. Can you have more dark skinned girls on the show? And I was just like, what?
That's colorism.
In right there. And we identify as Black. We talk as Black women. And so even that, it hurts me because the same thing happens with, homophobia in the Black community. It's like you're oppressing these people because of their skin color or because of their choices in the bedroom. And so again, like that's kind of why I'm glad we do have the show that we have. While people may think it's funny, it's cool to listen to, oh my God, y'all hoes is crazy, I really think we're doing justice in terms of bringing these conversations to light and opening people's minds to things that they probably never thought they would be into sexually. And they're now open to trying it. Or, whoa, I didn't think I would like this. Now I like it. Like, we have people write us all the time, girl, I licked my man's ass. Thank you. And, we're changing lives out here. Look, he's pounding his chest. You know what it is. The gooch.
For the listeners, that's regular Nas. we'll get into that on the episode. Just trust me.
I got questions.
I got mad questions.
I got questions for you, Nas.
I got
and he out here wearing purple too. I got mad questions for you.
We are not judging him. What are you talking about? The Teletubbies? No, that's where I brought it. The purple Teletubby was the gay one. Oh, she just said purple. I don't know. I go back to Teletubbies. I'm a 90s baby. Sorry.
Yeah, you're definitely 90s baby. So what else are you guys working on? I know you have some big things that you're working on.
Yes.
I know HBO, Vice, a lot of interesting. Oh, that's what I want to do. I want to tell y'all stories. So this is what happened, right?
Dear.
So as I'm talking to Mandii, me and Mandii have been brainstorming about us building platforms and just we're creatives. We're trying to fight this good fight together. So she goes, so hey, what are you guys doing? Your numbers and stuff. How you guys are growing. I'm a big fan. I'm like, oh, this is great. So then she goes, yeah, okay, yeah, we're averaging X, Y, and Z numbers. She goes, oh, that's great. Yeah, I did that my first week.
No, I didn't.
We're doing that now. Triple that. And oh, did I mention that HBO and the book sponsorship? I'm like, damn, Mandii. All right, fuck your show then, man. Like,
no, don't.
I'm like,
I'm
joking. I'm joking. But that is kind of what happened. But no. But I thought it was great. So I wanted you to share that because again, I really feel the similarities with our podcast. Again,
Thanks.
Starting from just nothing and just doing it on our own, booking, scheduling, editing.
And we started talking a little more about sex too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like it's things like that people don't appreciate and don't really understand. And what you have to say, obviously coming up right now is really, really great.
It's a new space. White people been doing this shit, but it's still fairly new for Black podcasts, and even having Black people listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Like no one listened to talk radio ever.
Yeah,
that's not a thing, but this is what podcast is. We just so our show we started at the end of March of 2017. So we are only a year and 4 months in. So the fast pace that we've been doing this, we just dropped episode 69 drops soon. Yeah. So we're only on episode 69. Oh yeah, we're about in the same. But y'all 2 times a week. We ain't up there.
That's what I said.
Once a week. But so literally in the time span that we've done it, we've done 3 shows, and this is all from the blueprint of us seeing what our favorite podcasts do. So we noticed the consistency of posting on time. We noticed even the time. We want to keep it to an hour. I don't even know how I listen to Joe's at 3 hours right now, but I don't. To me, I think it's important.
Fans get mad.
They get mad when they're short.
Like when they're short, literally 10 minutes. Them niggas
what are you doing?
Mad.
And I'm at work realizing I get in at 9. I'm still listening to Joe at 1:30.
Yeah.
Because you have to stop it. I'm like, God damn, he's taking up my whole day. But when you start a podcast, having the concept of how long it's going to be, what your topics are going to be, how are we going to push this in front of people? So we started having people on. So I know you guys just had Cuddy. So we've had people on our platform as well that have large followings because we want them to push to their listeners. And just doing so, what he brought up with the Vice and HBO, we actually did just do an article on Vice maybe 2 months ago, shortly after our feature on Brilliant Idiots. But we had a live show in New York, sold out. This is our second one. And Vice on HBO is actually doing a documentary on the Me Too movement. And so with Michelle Hope, who was our host for the show, we got into consent talk and what it means to have consent. And it was very powerful. She asked about 3 questions, asking if you know someone who has been a victim of sexual or physical violence. Do you know family members? Have you been a member? Have you been catcalled? All of these. And the theater of 200 people, everyone stood up. And so it was just very, very powerful. And even what we decided to talk about was the gray area. We even had one conversation about when you drink too much. Can you give consent if you're drunk? On both ends, the male and the guy. Then one, which we all had as a gray area, if you fuck a guy the night before and wake him up to sucking his dick, did he give consent for you to suck his dick? And so that was there's just gray areas all around. Women.
You fucked him the night before?
Yeah.
Like you wake him up to sucking his dick, right?
You wake him up to sucking his dick. Yeah. But even to that, if a man didn't consent or say, hey, in the morning you could suck my dick, technically you did it without asking. Because a woman could be the same.
Then he got me too.
See?
Oh my God.
He's a victim.
Right.
He's a victim.
But those type of conversations, that's a very gray area because maybe a woman doesn't want to be woken up with dick. Whether we fucked the night before, you don't know if I want to wake up with you fucking me, et cetera, et cetera. So those conversations were had in front of people and oh my God, look, don't do that. Terrible. Right.
Whatever.
Right. But just having those conversations. So they were in the room for that. And being able to bring these conversations to larger platforms is a super big deal for us. And like I said, we get contacted by a lot of people daily to do a lot of things. Like we've been contacted for book deals, for other shows, for other productions.
Yeah.
But because we've done this in a year and 4 months. It's just like, okay,
remarkable.
Let's focus on the content. That's my main thing. Yeah. Like right now, audio issues, making sure our guests are as loud as me, because I'm the fucking loudest, but even just making sure we sound a certain way now that we're getting a certain amount of listeners, bringing on guests that make sense, like not having the same topics. And when you get to episode 69, 70s, 80s, how much can you really talk? So making sure that we're always pushing the envelope on what haven't we discussed and how can we discuss it differently?
Yeah, definitely.
So I have a question to you, because you brought up obviously the consent and everything that with Terry Crews' situation.
Yes.
I saw that, it was like a weird mixed thoughts about it. There's some people that are standing behind him, and then there's some people that are making fun of him.
Like 50 Cent,
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Because everything you were saying, I was just curious to know.
These are conversations that I think need to be started as children. In the household, if you're a parent, if you're a mother of a son or a daughter, these conversations need to be had before we're in our 20s.
Yeah.
They need to be had. So unfortunately, when men grow up, sex to them is, oh, you're conquering something. As far as us, it's taking something away. It's taking away our innocence. Yeah. So even the way sex is perceived from both ends, I think that needs to change, because a man is not open about being sexually assaulted because sex is a good thing for a man. You've now become a man, or you need to conquer as many women as possible, or men are allowed to date and have girlfriends, and as women we can't have boyfriends, and those conversations, they're just very elementary even in the household. Yeah. And so because of that, men aren't open about if they were sexually assaulted, especially in terms in our community by another man.
That's what I was gonna say, where you just had that weird girl do some weird shit and you like, fam, I feel weird, but you don't want to say anything because it looks crazy.
Like what?
Like she just grabbed your dick in a show or something?
That happened to me on stage. I'm
serious. They do that at shows. They'll just grab the performer's dick.
That's literally what I was talking about. We were performing at Hammerstein Ballroom, and normally, if you've ever seen me perform, I'm in the crowd. I'm a hype man.
Hype man.
I'm doing what I'm doing.
I would have never thought. You're very...
Everyone says
I would have never... Hype man. Interesting.
Here's my collar pop, ladies and gentlemen. Google me. No, but... So that happened to me. I had a girl grab my shit when I was performing, and I'm like, fam.
You felt violated?
I did.
Okay.
So I understand that, and I think it's even worse when it's a guy on guy, obviously. So that for me, with the whole Terry Crews shit, I'm like, that natural reaction is, at least for me, I'm spazzing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because... And that's what I don't understand. I think that's what 50 was trying to point out outside of him.
But he explained it. Terry explained it. He was like, as a black man, how can I spaz when we're already portrayed as the angry black man?
And with his size, that's what 50 said too. How did Terry Crews allow another man to do it.
And that's what I'm saying.
You freeze though. You'd be surprised how much you freeze.
I'm not saying that. I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, I'm saying 50 is saying what I'm saying. Your natural reaction to shit like that would be to do it. Like when you get touched inappropriately, it's the same way when you guys are in a club walking past and a guy grabs you or does something. Your natural reaction is to swing or to do something out of sheer defense.
Right, but even as women, we know that we're liable. We can't beat a man. So a lot of times we don't. Like, I was sexually assaulted on a train and froze. So with Terry Crews, depending on even the relationship he had with this man, his livelihood is Hollywood.
Well, no,
so if he would have done something outside of that, he could have lost his whole job, which was the whole.
I totally agree, and that's why I said it's a gray area, because he's worrying about, okay, do I beat the shit out of this director, or do I now lose my Hollywood career? But here's my only thing. That's the problem with society and entertainment, where you have to weigh those pros and cons.
Yeah.
That's my issue with the whole situation. Yeah. So the fact that you have to deal with being sexually assaulted by a man or woman and living and eating just to save face with the public is crazy to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
So that's my only thing. That it doesn't help what 50 does, or even the way I feel about it, or just anything, because of perception. Because now he's got to live with it at the end of the day.
But even more so, there were memes created and all that stuff. So even when you take out the dynamic of power, which that's what we're talking about in the entertainment industry, when you just go back to even say it's just friends, or say it's your uncle doing it, or anything like that. Say you bring it down to, and I hate to call them regular people, but civilians. Say you take it out of the industry completely and bring it back to civilians. When you see your favorite rapper mocking someone who's experienced this and making memes, and now you're making fun of it, as a civilian, you don't even want to come forward, because you may become a mockery to your friends, to your family. And so it makes it to where, as black men, they just keep it inside. Yeah. And they don't do anything, which a lot of times this also leads, and I've talked to many people that have done this with the issue of men being on the DL. A lot of them have experienced sexual trauma from men in the past that they weren't able to discuss, and now they're still hiding that now in the future.
Yeah, those like deep.
Well, that also
there's a lot of deep-rooted issues, but that's what that shit happened to Terry Crews a while ago, and he came forward. Yeah. And now look, now he's being attacked for just coming forward. Yeah. And so that's what a lot of fear is in black men for coming forward in that as well.
That's the other thing too. It's not of the norm. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of him coming forward is what I'm saying. Yes. Not it happening. It happens. But the coming forward part, it's a tough thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? To have to look somebody in the face, and now you have the media involved, obviously, because this is a whole big thing with the Me Too movements and just all of the different things that are happening, and you'd be the first guy. So I get it. And not to mention,
didn't I also? Sorry, I'm going to cut you off, but he's definitely one of the first black.
That's what I was about to say.
What was it? Corey, what's his name? That he used to be like an 80s child actor. He was always talking about all this stuff with like the pedophilia, the assaults, and they were like, "Oh, he's crazy." And now that like these like Harvey Weinstein, everyone now they're like, "Oh, he was right."
He was right. Yeah, they're all saying he was right.
Kevin Spacey ruined fucking House of Cards for me. God damn it, I wanted to keep watching that shit. Yo, fucking ruined it all.
Can I tell you something?
I was binging. What did you do?
I know, right?
It's so many people that I'm disgusted by that I've really admired, like the Morgan Freemans of the world, Kevin Spacey. Like, there's mad people. I was like, oh, as long as they don't take
Morgan
them.
Freeman did something?
He had,
Did I miss this?
So it started out with this clip. This reporter was saying basically that he made inappropriate comments about her. He's made inappropriate comments before about other people, but then it kind of ties back to it was reported that he had an interesting situation with one of his like step granddaughters or his granddaughter.
He got caught on the road, got pulled over with his step granddaughter or some shit, and it was discovered that they had been allegedly they had something going on.
Yeah.
I didn't know that because I was still Morgan Freeman's all we got left. Like I'm like no, and then I can't remember who in the room said it, but like, hey Brandon, this is what's happening. I said wait what? What are you? What's happening right now?
Well, there's the Russell Simmons now too.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of things.
There's so many things that are happening in the world with legends. Bill Cosby, like you can name them, and it's crazy. My childhood is fucked up. So like for me, I just it's troubling. It's troubling, especially for me, just because for all of us, I'll say just because they're minorities. Like these are people that never really get to make it to certain levels in life of success and respect. And now all of that shit is stripped away.
Yeah.
So
have you ever had to press a guest when it came to a certain topic? You know how like we're talking about all these celebrities and how like they have this perfect image, but it's really not. Has there ever been a guest, you don't have to name them, but a guest or even a situation where you had to press a celebrity for something that dealt around like topics of sex and healthy sex or even assault or anything like that?
No, we did have, so not that it was a pressing thing, but we did have a very uncomfortable interview. And I'll go ahead and say it because you can go listen to it, but it was with Marcus Black, who was on Love and Hip Hop.
Okay.
And he had been flirting with my co-host for a long majority of the show. And so towards the end of the conversation, we started discussing BDSM or something like that, which, you know, bondage and all of that thing. And it came out that she dealt with white men. The conversation of BDSM and her dealing with white men went into a conversation of slavery and the master and how dare you be disrespected by a white man like that as a black queen. And it got very uncomfortable. She's like, if I want my man to spit in my mouth, that's what I want. Like, but he looked at it so derogatory for her being a black woman and representing a black queen to allow a white man to treat you like this. Yeah. That's how he looked at it. So it got really uncomfortable in the room, and they went back and forth. And so, like I said, even having those conversations, like it literally went into the whole slavery talk, the master talk, the how dare you degrade yourself this way. And even in sex, there are things that could be looked at as degrading, but if it's something that you enjoy, can you really shame it? And so just that line, that was probably the most uncomfortable. And then we had to tell him, like, as a woman, I can do whatever I want in the bedroom with whoever I want to do it with.
They're you have preferences when you're having
he leaned
sex,
back and was like, oh, you deal with white men? Crossed his arms and almost didn't want to continue the interview. So the mood
kind of changed.
It got really, and we just was like, okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. And we pretty much had to end the goddamn conversation. But his whole demeanor, and it's not on camera, and I wish it was because people aren't aware of the tension that was in the room. He literally sat back on his chair away from the mic and was like, I no longer want to speak with you type of shit because this is what you do. And it was just really like, oh, this was uncomfortable.
So he thought it was okay to even start off with flirting with her. First of all, that's one thing I don't like. Like, I'm trying to be professional. I'm trying to do something, and you're just taking it to another level. But then for him,
she flirts back. So it was a flirty, you know. Our podcast is about that, so you flirt.
But even still, like you go from the flirting to then like you obviously want to fuck her, then to like being disgusted, like dog. You literally the whole time were just thinking in your mind like you would want to sleep with her.
Absolutely, and because of what she does in the bedroom, his whole demeanor changed, his whole attitude changed, everything changed, and we were like, alrighty, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you. This has been another episode of, and we were like, this isn't. But that was probably one of the most comfortable outside of, we had I don't want to call her a sex expert. She speaks on sex. Okay. She's a sex, Glamazon Taomi. My co-host also didn't agree with her stance on free love. She had just been married and there was an agreement on what she should be telling her partner, them sleeping with other people. It was just very gray. Yeah. And so that also got pretty tense as well because there was just not an understanding of what the fuck does this mean? What do you mean your husband doesn't have to come home at a certain amount at a time? And she was just like, well, I am not the property of him. And it just got into just really understanding.
I like the
you like that, huh? You like that. You like that. Yeah, but having these conversations about what is a hoe, about what we like in the bedroom, about sexuality, it definitely stirs up a lot of emotions in people. And there's so many different thoughts that we just have to realize we're allowed to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're allowed to have different opinions.
Yeah.
But when you're in a room with especially alpha personalities, I feel like being on a podcast, you kind of have to be alpha.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to get their opinion out there. Everyone wants to share, their thoughts. And even though they think their thoughts are right and someone else's is wrong, you can't really look at it that way. So it's even just having a discussion and knowing when to switch topics because you're not all going to be on the same page ever.
Yeah, definitely.
Ever. And I think even with the podcast, one of the biggest things, and I think we just talked about it actually, I've said some things that not everyone agreed with.
Yeah.
And there was a discrepancy on how we should go about that. My co-host wanted to issue an apology, and I was like, I will never apologize for what the fuck I say. My opinion is my opinion, and I stand on it. If down the line my opinion changes, I can address that my opinion changed. Yeah. But when you have a platform like this and you openly discuss mad shit, everyone's not gonna fucking agree with you.
Yeah.
And you can't sit here and record with the thought of, oh shit, if I say this, I'm gonna lose listeners. Or if I say this, damn, someone's not gonna tune in or wanna hear anything I have to say again. You literally have to stand on what the fuck you say and keep it pushing.
They hate no matter what.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
they're gonna hate no matter what.
We have a policy of not editing shit. Like, y'all gonna hear it in its entirety, good, wrong, or indifferent, because that's how we feel. We don't apologize, and it shouldn't be like that. Like, there's platforms like this for the listeners. It's for us to. It's free will. It's free speaking. It's to give an opinion. Those things are still very valuable in today's world, whether you agree with it or not. That's your choice, but that's the fun part of it. So I don't blame you. I'm not apologizing for shit.
For shit.
Oh, absolutely
nothing.
not.
So
no.
And I mean, oh my gosh, there have been times like, because we would do album reviews, and then we'll be like this album's not good, and they'll be like, what?
They gonna
you are trash for this, that, and I'm like, dude, like, if you don't like what, and I always say, if you don't like what we have to say, you can leave. There's other platforms too, but that's the thing, like, just the same way with you guys, like, we're not gonna sit here and be industry. We're going to just say what needs to be said, say in an intellectual way, and whether you like it or not is upon you.
Definitely.
Well, at least you only get called trash, because the things that we're called...
No,
y'all get called worse than that?
Baldy, Nadesta.
A nigga called me baldy the other day.
Aaron.
You're all bald, aren't you? How are you balding?
No, he said I'm bald. He called me baldy.
What's the wrong with... You're bald. What's the problem?
I know, but my thing is...
No, but in the sentence, they was like regular Nas and Baldy, like as if he was, because they said his name, but they're like, this is some irrelevant ass guy, even though we're the main people on this podcast.
That's why I was like, fam, like, are you even watching shit? Like, I've been called like mad shit, like Joe. I've been called.
I saw that.
Feminist. Some guy like went on about like how he would fuck me just because he disagreed with what I was saying.
Oh yeah,
shit.
The stuff on and we're now visual. Oh God, why did we go visual? I don't know. Because now we talk about we're talking about this now, and it's these dumbass hoes, these bitches, you bitches this, and then they body shame all the time. Why do y'all look different every fucking episode? The big bitch over there it's just terrible.
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
They talk about our hair, they talk about our outfit, they talk about our sizes, they talk about if we don't argue with a topic the way, like we just had Andrew Schultz on. Andrew is Andrew. I'm not going to argue him down on any topic. I'm going to allow him to say what he wants to say, and we're going to go to the next topic. They turned it into, see, that's what women do. Andrew just said all that, and y'all ain't even argue him down. It's because y'all some dumb bitches. Like, and went to our intelligence because we didn't argue this man down. And so it's just very like, reading those comments, it's just like, sometimes I don't even want to, and of course it gets sent to our email. I don't even want to look at the comments sometimes. It's like, I don't give a fuck what y'all
We're immune to it now. I mean, like, I had a similar situation. Maul had this shirt on and said, black men don't cheat. I allowed him.
That's the shirt that Andrew had on.
Yeah, I allowed him to say, and he was talking about from a societal aspect of it. But then me being Erin, like, I like to counter. I like to be, devil's advocate. And I was like, well, if you're talking about societal, a black woman is at the bottom of the totem pole.
Absolutely.
So if you leave a black woman for a white woman, isn't that getting ahead? So quote unquote cheating in society. So people like got so mad. They're like, oh my God, she's a feminist. She hates men. This is that and the third. I was like, what? Because I challenged, and I wasn't disrespectful.
Ever since then.
But I wasn't disrespectful about it either.
You have to realize Maul has kind of a culty-like following.
Oh no,
so
I know.
They hang on his every word. So if you challenge that, then and in our sense, we didn't challenge and they still came for us. Yeah. So it's either you challenge and you get called out, or you don't say anything.
But it's funny because right after he was like, oh, I like this girl.
That was slick, bitch. You was quick on your toes with that.
That's what I said. I sat back like, oh shit, he got you now, my nigga. That's a good one.
What class did you take to learn this?
I definitely took a class in college. I talked about the archetypes and the stereotypes of black women that was established during the slavery times, and it still is to this day.
Right.
So, but like for me, like, I'm a journalist at heart. I was trained a journalist. So like, I'm going to pick apart what you say.
Right.
I'm a really great listener. But if I hear something that's off, I'm going to say something.
Right.
So, and it wasn't like I was coming at him like, nigga, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I came out an intellectual way, but it's kind of going back to what you're saying. I feel like no matter what, you just got to do you. And that's why we respect you guys and your platform, because it's like at the end of the day, someone's going to say shit. And it don't matter. Because as long as you getting what you need to do and as long as you getting them checks, whatever.
Yeah, be you, man.
That's it.
Absolutely.
We can't thank you enough for coming on.
No, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. This is kind of fun.
This is actually the first guest episode where we really had like more of a dialogue conversation about so many different things.
Because I didn't want to be interviewed anyway.
I know.
God damn it.
I was going to say, I
wanted a goddamn conversation. Oh, yeah, I was asking y'all questions.
I'm like,
what do you think of?
I'm like, yo, she definitely horrible decision this fucking podcast a few minutes ago. I was like, oh, I see what you did there. You eluded us.
I really, like, and it's funny because I was just talking to my friend about this before. Like, when I go on other shows, unless there's a certain topic I want to talk about, specifically, I've gone on and they really haven't had one, and they want to re-talk about, so what's the friend zone? So what is pegging? And they want to re-talk about a lot of things that we've already discussed on the platform. So I enjoy being around, again, different people to open the conversation and discussion on things that we talk about on our show as well. So thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You're so annoying.
If you guys want to follow me on any of the platforms, you guys can reach me at Full Court Pumps on everything. That's Twitter, that's Instagram. If you guys want to check out my podcast, you can check it out anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast, except for Spotify, because they some hoes right now. We waiting on Spotify, goddammit. They're the only platform that we're not on, but you guys look up Horrible Decisions. If you type in whore, we pop up. That's WHORE. We pop up, and it's Horrible Decisions. Again,
just close out our show.
We have just a lot. So this has been, it was a fucking blast finally meeting you. I listened to you, and I don't know how you sit across him weekly, twice a week. This is amazing. No, but I appreciate you guys. I hope you really enjoyed this episode of the Grassroots Podcast. And where can they find you at?
Pretty much everywhere. Now we'll take back over our show. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into Grassroots Podcast with Erin and Brandon.
Oh yeah, with them too.
Check us out, Grassroots Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Definitely in the description of YouTube. Check out the group me chat at Forever Growing, as we always say. It's been a great time.
Of course, because I was here.
And then settle the fuck down. And then also just be kind to people. I want to end on that note. Be kind to people. Be open minded. And I think I'm going to be a little bit more open minded.
If you want to have sex, go have sex.
Yeah.
Safe. Don't care.
Safe.
Oh yeah, safe.
Condom
sex.
dick is great.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Condom.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we'll go ahead and end on that.
This has been a wrap, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Peace.
Grassroots.